Hello everybody, my name is Nikolaus and I am a member of the Arcadia-funded Maritime Endangered Archaeology project based at Ulster University in Northern Ireland. I am delighted to talk to you today. To start with, I would like to thank the organisers for giving me the opportunity to talk at ASOR annual meeting today. In this presentation, I would like to introduce the Cyrenaica Coastal Survey project to provide a snapshot of the type of sites that we have recorded along the coast between Tocra and Apollonia, and to draw attention to the type of damages and threats the coastal heritage faces today. The Cyrenaica Coastal Survey is a collaboration between the Maritime Endangered Archaeology project, MarEA for short, and the Department of Antiquities in Libya. It is also supported by Beyda and Benghazi universities. I'd like to first give some background on the MarEA project. MarEA aims to document and assess threats to maritime, so coastal and underwater archaeology, with an emphasis on the Middle East and North Africa. We've been going for about 3.5 years now, and the team is made up of the universities of Southampton and Ulster University. We work closely with partners in the region, and we are the sister project of the Endangered Archaeology of the Middle East and North Africa project, EMENA for short, which has been running now for a number of years. The coastline of Cyrenaica in eastern Libya, running between the Gulf of Sirte and the present-day Egypt-Libya border, has a long history of human occupation stretching back into the Paleolithic, with the most numerous and visible remains from the Hellenistic, Roman and early Islamic periods. Some of the most well-known sites along this coastline include the major classical period harbour cities of Tocra, Ptolemais and Apollonia. However, many of the smaller coastal sites have only received cursory investigation to date. But this underexplored coastal heritage is under increasing threat of damage and destruction. One of the main drivers is the ongoing rapid expansion of settlement along the coastline. In Libya, urban centres are predominantly located in the narrow coastal strip, and 80% of the country's population now resides there. This is intensified by a sharp rise in population over the last 70 years, which also caused large agricultural expansion along the fertile plains and at the coast. On top of this, the increase in coastal erosion caused by sea level rise and progressively severe winter storms add to the threats and damages that sites along the coastline face, and we will turn to Apollonia later to demonstrate this. The Cyrenaica Coastal Survey, or CCS for short, was established because of these ongoing and imminent threats to smaller coastal sites. The primary aim was to assess and document the current condition of, and the damages and threats to, onshore, intertidal and submerged sites. In advance of the survey, MarEA carried out a desk-based assessment, during which we recorded and assessed sites remotely using satellite imagery. The field team that ultimately carried out the survey consisted of Libyan heritage professionals, led in the field by Dr. Mohammed Abdrabba and Dr. Ahmad Emrage in the first stage of the survey, and by Dr. Ahmad Emrage and Fouad El-Gumati during stages 2 and 3. The survey team covered an area of over 150 kilometers from Tocra to Apollonia. We divided this large area into 3 survey sections, the first from Ficus to Kynopolis, the second from Apollonia to Ficus, and the third from Kynopolis to Tocra. Now I've told you a little bit about the project's background, I will give you a short overview of the type of sites we have recorded and assessed. The survey team visited several classic period harbours, anchorages and associated settlements. Although they are not as large as Apollonia, Tocra or Ptolemais, they were still important players in the local and wider Mediterranean maritime economy. The largest site within the survey area was Ficus. This Greek and Roman harbour settlement is located approximately 30 kilometers west of Apollonia on a small headland. It probably served as a secondary harbour to Cyrene and the surrounding area. The dense archaeological remains over an area of around 50 hectares suggest that it was of considerable size and importance. The team recorded 29 subsites here, including the headlands where the ports, warehouses, storage tanks, perhaps a lighthouse, and some of the main settlements were located. The area behind the headland held cistern, vats, kilns, buildings, a church and rock-cut tombs. Aptokas, near modern-day Sariyat el-Hanya, is located approximately 14 kilometers southwest of Ficus. It consists of a settlement and harbour extending over an area of around 4 hectares, some of which is now covered by a large Islamic cemetery and a modern village. Pottery found at the site dates from the Hellenistic and to the Byzantine period. The area along the seashore is defined by evidence of industrial activities, including the remains of circular vats, tanks, cisterns and large buildings. The survey team visited 13 subsites here, mainly located along the seashore and a small hill to the southeast. Kynopolis is located further southwest of Aptokas and consisted of a classical period harbour of about 4 hectares and a substantial settlement of about 14 hectares. The settlement was located further up the hill due to the very narrow coastal plain here. The features along the shore suggest mainly industrial activities by the sea, including vats, larger buildings and the tower. Nuad is located 16 km west of Apollonia. This Hellenistic and Roman period industrial harbour and small settlement consists of a number of buildings, vats, basin and warehouses, suggesting a high level of industrial activity in this area. The entire coastline is dotted with evidence of intense agricultural and industrial activities. Overall, we have recorded over 20 sites related to industrial or agricultural activities, as well as numerous vats, kilns, presses, kernstone, quarries, and a large dovecote that once housed around 1,200 nesting holes. We also have recorded a number of water management features, including aqueducts, channels, body walls, and cisterns. Where there is life, there inevitably is also death, reflected in the many tombs we have recorded, including classical period rock-cut tombs, graves cut into quarries and bedrock, as well as Islamic period cemeteries. A small number of submerged features have been explored around the site of Nuad, Ficus and the island of Famis. We recorded some walls of submerged buildings and tanks, as well as ship anchors and pottery. However, due to the adverse weather conditions, our diving expeditions were limited. And here in the video you can see our divers exploring the area around the site of Nuad. Now I will turn to highlight the main damages and threats many of these sites face today. First, we will have a look at damages caused by humans directly or indirectly. As I have already mentioned in the introduction, settlement expansion is one of the factors that has impacted coastal archaeology the most. This is perhaps best demonstrated by using satellite images from Google Earth to visualize the impact of settlement expansion. Here we can see the village of Al-Hamama in 2006. Ficus is located on the headland, up here, as well as features that spread along the coast. The western perimeter of Ficus is located near a small holiday resort, which is located here. As you can see, in 2006, Al-Hamama is still a very small settlement. By 2009, buildings have already expanded to the southwest and northeast, and new roads have been constructed, in particular to the west, to give better access to the resort over here. By 2014, other than additional houses, the biggest change is visible in a new set of roads built to the north of the settlement in preparation of new housing. In this area, the team has recorded walls of buildings and vats that are now severely damaged. Slightly less visible are the changes made at the beach around the resort. Illegal sand mining and probably dredging in the area around the resort was noted by Hessine in 2013, which destroyed any potential archaeological evidence. Additional bulldozing and sand mining took place northeast of the resort from 2016 onwards, which is also clearly visible on the satellite imagery, and further houses have appeared, some of which are located on the archaeological site itself. On the top left here, you can see one of the houses built on the site of Ficus, right above one of the rock-cut tombs. Sites close to other settlements face similar threats and damages though. On the bottom left image, you can see an industrial installation as part of Susa's modern expansion, next to Apollonia, which directly impacts a Roman period farm here. The bottom center shows the results of clearance activities around the settlement of Alhania, in the area where the harbour settlement of Aptokus would have been. Remains in this bulldozing heap include ancient building materials and pottery fragments. Unfortunately, sites that are further removed from modern settlement are not completely safe from clearance and construction. For instance, a small farm was constructed very close to the Roman period aqueduct bridge of Wadi Sirana, east of Ptolemais, here visible on the image on the top right. At times, modern buildings were started, but their construction appears to be abandoned, such as in the bottom image on the right, east of Ficus. These more remote buildings mentioned in the previous slide can frequently be linked to agricultural activities and farm dwellings. On the top left image, a farm is located within a quarry just outside of Ptolemais that holds substantial tower-like mausolea. The clearing of the ground for new fields with machinery causes substantial damage, as can be seen on the top right of the slide, just west of Alhania. Here, the stones of the foreground are the edge of a fortifying farm. The bottom left image shows the damage bulldozing has caused at a small Roman period industrial site west of Apollonia. Animal movement of livestock can keep the vegetation on sites at bay, but the trampling can also weaken and dislodge some elements. Also predominantly linked to modern agricultural activities is the reuse of archaeological features. Especially near settlements or farms, rock-cut tombs are repurposed as storage facilities or animal shelters, such as on the top left, where a door was added to the entrance of the tomb. On the bottom left image, you can see part of a quarry and ancient tomb being repurposed as an animal shelter near Ptolemais. Ancient cisterns can still be found in use, such as on the top right, or are being altered to improve their function, such as on the bottom right. Some cases of possible looting have been recorded, where holes seem to have been intentionally dug into the ground, such as on the top right here. However, we did not record any instances of large-scale organized looting. Much more prevalent are occasions of littering on sites, as well as graffiti sprayed directly onto buildings. Perhaps unsurprisingly, all sites have suffered from natural causes, as they have been exposed to the elements over the centuries. Sites located not directly at the coast are often covered by vegetation and have suffered from wind and rain action to some degree. Coastal sites located close to the shore have been impacted by wind and rain to a higher degree, as they are directly exposed to coastal storms. An accelerating threat to sites located close to the sea today is coastal erosion, likely intensified by climate change. Although coastal erosion has been documented on the Cyrenaican coast since the early 19th century, more recent reports highlight the destructive impact it is having on archaeological sites at the water's edge, notably at key sites such as Tocra and Apollonia. However, our survey has highlighted that there are many more smaller sites along the coast, which are less well or totally understudied, and that are often at risk of erosion. These images here can give us a sense of how big a problem it really is. This is all the more worrying considering the coastal erosion and flooding are projected to increase globally over the 21st century in response to climate change, particularly as a result of sea level rise. This could be further exacerbated by human action, such as reduced supply of sediment caused by upstream damming, canalization of rivers and wadis, continuous sand mining or urbanization. Consequently, this shoreline can be regarded as highly vulnerable from an archaeological perspective. At MarEA and as part of the CCS survey, we are currently working on assessing the effect that climate change and increased wave action has on the coast of Cyrenaica using Tocra, Ptolemais and Apollonia as a case study. These sites were chosen as we have more robust data available, but we are hoping to do similar studies at other vulnerable sites such as Ficus and Canopolis in the future. My colleague Kieran Wesley has modelled past, current and future impacts of sea level rise using geospatial information and projection generated by, for instance, the Deltaris Aqua Monitor or global surface water for past changes and data from the Liscos project for future change. Here, I will briefly present the results from Apollonia. We can see a clear pattern of coastal retreat in places at up to 0.5 meters a year, and with a suggestion of an increase in the last 10 years. Now, 0.5 meters a year does not sound like much, but over a period of years, it can cause considerable damage to an archaeological site. So we can see here that the fastest erosion has historically concentrated in the center of the site, where there is an incipient tombolo. To the west and the east of it, there's been erosion, but very slow. Now, however, there seems to be a clear trend of retreat. But what does this mean for the future? We can project these rates forward in time to look at likely effects. These are shown by the yellow lines, dotted for 2050 and solid for 2100. Rates will increase over time in response to sea level rise. Therefore, we use Liscos to model the worst-case scenario. These are shown by the red lines. If we project these onto individual structures, we can start to get a sense of what might be lost. These residential structures at the top of the image will be steadily nibbled away at, and in the worst case lose 30 to 50% of their area by 2100. In this worst case, the East Church will also be threatened. The Roman Bath and Byzantine industrial building are at risk now and will almost certainly lose their seaward proportion by 2050. If the Liscos rates are correct, you will see the entire Byzantine building gone by 2050 along with half of the Bath. We should also not forget that the foreshore and eroding areas will also hold unrecorded material, which may be quickly exposed and then lost as erosion proceeds. So, I hope I was able to give you a bit of an overview about the threats and damages coastal sites face today. You can read in more detail about the first stage of our survey in our published paper in the Journal of Maritime Archaeology, or go and check out our blog on the MarEA website. I would also like to mention that some of the financial support received through the CCS survey enabled the construction of a perimeter wall around the coastal site of Fouad. A plaque has been installed on the site detailing its importance and its protected status in law. Furthermore, the CCS team has identified a number of needs to increase future capacity in maritime archaeology, including diving lessons and in-person training in underwater recording techniques, including underwater photography and 3D modeling. As a next step, together with the DOA, we would like to develop short, medium and long-term mitigation strategies to protect these sites. Furthermore, we would like to contribute in developing guidance and policy documents that protect cultural heritage in the future. A further step would be to carry out intensive terrestrial and diving surveys of the most threatened sites identified during the condition assessment survey, and to carry out rescue excavations on sites that are immediately threatened by destruction. In addition to this, we would like to develop outreach projects that raise awareness of the richness and importance of the coastal heritage. But as always, this will be subject to successful funding applications. So to draw this to a close, hopefully I have given you a sense of what we are trying to achieve with the CCS survey. Comprehensive threat and damage assessments and documentation, which include consideration of climate change impacts. The steady loss of these coastal sites creates an ever-growing gap in our understanding of how local and Mediterranean-wide maritime networks developed, functioned and changed over centuries. Cyrenaica was ideally situated to connect the western and eastern Mediterranean, with its larger and smaller harbours playing important economic and political roles across the Mediterranean. The many production sites documented during the survey, including farm estates, vats, basins and kilns, as well as dense pottery scatters, speak of an area that was heavily involved in the local and wider economies during the classical period. One of the most important parts of this project is the continuous exchange of information and resources and the transparent dialogue and scientific discussion between MarEA and Libyan heritage professionals, without whom this project would have simply been impossible. The whole MarEA team would like to thank them for their invaluable input and tireless effort. We would also like to thank our funder Acadia, as well as the British Institute of North African Studies, the European Space Agency, and the Faculty of Arts and Humanities Strategic Research Fund at the University of Southampton, who have supported this project. Thank you for your attention, and feel free to get in touch if you have any questions or if you're simply interested in our project. Thank you.